Mark, I hate to break it to you, but I got OpTic getting top 12 at the first event.
Every year, this team struggles to find consistency and teamwork.
They've basically broken every GA in the book so far.
Welcome to Reverse Sweep, presented by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/reverse sweep and use code reverse sweep for a first deposit match of up to $100. We're now heading into the first major of the year in Boston, and I'm joined by my two favourite co-hosts, Pat and Chris. Make sure you guys sit back, relax, and enjoy the show as we're going to discuss the biggest topics in the community heading into the major. But before we get into talking about this week's matches, we've had a big competitive update this week in which rank play was released, as well as one of the biggest competitive hardpoint updates in history. I've been putting a little bit of time into rank play over the last few days, I must admit. I'm looking alright, I'm looking decent. What are your guys' thoughts so far in the rank play system as a whole?
Rank play system hasn't changed much. It's pretty much the same thing with just all new game. The one thing I want to tip is how Sledgehammer and Treyarch work together to restrict certain things in certain modes. So that was one of my biggest worries. I was like, oh, smoke grenades and trophies and all that stuff. So smoke grenades are actually restricted in every game mode except for search. And I didn't know that they were going to even like use that as like a thought, but so awesome. Outside of that, I mean, it's pretty much the same system. And nothing much has changed, but I love it. It's a good stream content for me. So I haven't found a lot of blatant ones, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people are closet cheating. And it's hard to tell because there's no kill cams. And the reason why the kill cams are not there is not because they're trying to like let people cheat. It's more so that there's a bug in the game where if you watch a kill cam, you can see where the enemy player's teammates are, like through his vision in the kill cam, which I think they're working on fixing, and then they'll add kill cams back in because right now they're not in competitive, they're not in ranked, and it'll help kind of like
just
know
like
if you're
UI
playing
bug.
cheaters, or kind of like help expose people, or maybe deter people from wanting to cheat because they're more prone to being caught. But ultimately, it's going to come down to the anti-cheat, and I don't really ever know how that's going to go. I don't have my hopes very high though.
I wonder what other issues they had, because obviously, it was delayed about a day, about 24 hours. So obviously there must have been some, like, aside from the kill cam one, like more serious issues. Now, did they ever say what those were?
I don't think they told anyone. I'm trying to think of what it could have been. I have a feeling it's probably had to do something like partying up or like the matchmaking, because they didn't figure out what it was until it went live, and I feel like that's something that you probably wouldn't know for sure until it's live. Because I mean, I know your game also had a problem like during its beta phase with like partying up and stuff like that, and you guys didn't know until you obviously published the beta, whether it was going to work or not. So I mean, it's probably something similar, if I had to guess.
One thing I've noticed, apart from everything you've obviously mentioned, is when playing with players that are like a few ranks below, it's like impossible to get a game, at least from my experience. Like, although there's that kind of, obviously once you get to a certain rank, you have to play with people around a certain rank. Like the lower levels, it should in theory give you more games, more options, but I've not been able to get games with some of my friends that are sort of a couple ranks below.
Yeah,
just from my experience.
I haven't had that experience at all.
Really?
Right now, the matchmaking system is actually more open than it is apparently, because you can't queue up with like other divisions. If you're really high ranked, you can only queue up with the same normal restrictions. So like if you're iridescent or top 250, you can queue with crimsons. If you're crimsons, you can queue with iridescent diamonds. If you're diamonds, you can go all the way down to gold. And then if you're platinum, you can do everything below you and one above. So not any rank.
Can you quad queue in any rank?
Quad queue you can quad queue, but I'm not saying with any rank you can't. The problem is that some people don't like and it's probably terrible for like the lower level players, is right now, if you're top 250, you can get a game with anyone. And the reason is because the season is so short, they want people to obviously be able to grind. And if the season was longer, they would apply the restrictions that would make matchmaking more strict. But right now, since the season's short, like they don't have time to allow like the players that don't grind a lot to get and fill the ranks like that are higher. So if, like, for example, a person like me, with the season being only 18 more days, 17 more days, I wouldn't have been able to get a game at top 250 until there was maybe like 5 days remaining in the season, which is not ideal. So that's why the matchmaking is probably weird right now.
Yeah. And another part of the update we had was obviously the hardpoint positions and spawn changes. Big, massive update competitively, especially for challengers specifically. We had obviously 2 or 3 days of practice going into the Challengers Cup this weekend. The pro teams aren't going to be playing it for the major or this weekend's matches that have just happened. They didn't use the most recent patch. So they're going to be continuing that until after Major 1, which is obviously interesting. It's kind of been a common theme this season so far. We had that with the matches before Christmas as well, because there was some slight changes to some of the hard points there as well. Just interested to know what your guys' thoughts are on the sort of initial changes. If you've had the chance to watch, obviously a lot of CDL action has just been on the previous patch, but if you guys have had a chance to see or play.
So my initial reaction is I at least credit the studio for making changes, right? If you guys remember the 2019 Modern Warfare season, we were kind of in the same boat. We were promised like this massive big update that was gonna, move bomb sites, move hardpoint locations, et cetera, and that never even came, right? So I at least want to give credit to Sledgehammer for at least making the initiative to get some changes in. I assume most of these changes had to come from, the pro chat with the recommendation that obviously they have the outreach through the CDL. But on the flip side, most of these changes have not been good. I don't know necessarily if all the new hills are the issue. I've looked through most of the overheads, and aside from like a few in like random locations getting really small, put in weird spots, like most of the changes for the hill locations were not bad. But the spawn updates have been pretty bad across the board. I think luckily here, because the pros have this Major 1 and they're on the old patch still, they haven't got to play it yet. And I think if they were playing it and had how we used to be back in the day, forced into the new update stuff, I think there'd be a lot bigger of a public outcry than there is currently. But from everything that I've seen and heard from challenger players who are obviously forced to play this new update, it's looking pretty rough for them in Hardpoint. So that does have me concerned because Major 1 is next week, right? And then they're going to the pros are going to jump into the practice for Major 2. I don't know how long it's if there's going to be a new update to fix some of these issues and how long, everyone's going to be stuck on this current patch, which I think we all can agree needs some work.
Pat basically hit the nail on the head. The spawns, I think, are the biggest problem. A couple of the hill positionings, were good. Some of them are a little questionable, but I think the overwhelming reaction to a lot of people when they first play this patch is going to be the spawns are just shit. There's a lot of parallels. There's a lot of times where you essentially spawn on people. They're readable because you just kind of play the game a lot and you kind of start to notice trends. But readable doesn't necessarily mean good, and it shouldn't really play that way. But the thing is, bro, I don't know if they're ever going to get them right. I think a lot of it has to do with the maps. Yeah, there's certain things they could do to mitigate the situation, but the maps are just not built for Hardpoint. And on top of that, one thing that I've noticed, and even some of the casual players will say it, the Modern Warfare 2 maps, the original ones, there's no flow on them. I feel like on on games like Black Ops 2 or even other CODs, right? There's a kind of an actual flow of the map and how you traverse it and get in engagements with Modern Warfare 2 maps. It's pretty open in terms of you can go anywhere, do whatever you want. It's just a lot of freedom in terms of how you approach playing a map. And I don't feel like that transitions well in Hardpoint. I feel like Hardpoint is a very flow-based mode. It kind of has to make sense. It's you're going through a pathway throughout. It's rotations, right? Well, with this game, it's kind of just it's jagged. It's not so smooth. I don't know how to explain it.
I agree. I agree with you, Chris. The only thing that I can say, we played Modern Warfare 2 in 2009 and 2010. The speed of the game, let's ignore Hardpoint for one. The speed of the actual game was so much slower, right? We didn't have tac sprint. Even our regular sprint wasn't as fast. And if you were moving fast, you were sacrificing to run Marathon Lightweight, and you were that player on the map, running that route by yourself. And you could literally beat ARs to positions because they were running slow. I think that's one of the biggest factors. I totally agree. I don't think these maps work well for Hardpoint. That was a major concern, I think, for a lot of people going into, when we found out that we're remastering these maps and, playing Hardpoint on them, because of how open they are. Back in the day, we only played S&D demolition, and CTF on these maps, which when you compare those style modes, that's always, you know, in all those examples, that's one team owning one side of the map, defense, and the other team owning the other side of the map on attack, right? Like you have basically bases, which I think fits these maps way better.
There's no bases.
So when we get into Hardpoint, where, you know, the map basically turns constantly, yeah, the bases are irrelevant, and like the side spawns on the maps and like the unique, what we would typically have like unique spawns outside of like the borders of the map don't really make sense.
Yeah, it's
because
almost like the games are better off just giving one team a spawn on one side for like every hill and one team a spawn on the other side.
Literally, yeah. But I think that's why there's a lot of these like parallels, right? Because where there's not really locations to spawn players that make sense for Hardpoint. Which I think was even worse. At least I will say was even worse in the like I know there's Invasion is worse now, but like going back to, you know, having that top American spot like hill, like where do you spawn people? Like that I think that's always a problem with having, you know, points on the borders of the map. But yeah, I do think that's a concern. I think it's going to continue to be a concern. The only thing I can say is I think we got one new map, Rio. Chris, I don't know how much you've played of it. Like, I'm hoping there's going to be some more maps that at least fit the modern pace better. But do you think that map comes into play?
But that map also kind of has that base-heavy spawn system where like one team spawns on one side of the mall and the other team spawns on the other, because it's a mall, right? One team spawns on one side of the mall, one team spawns on the other side of the mall, and it's pretty much like that for like all the hills. But it doesn't seem like you would get as many splits, and it doesn't seem like you're necessarily like going around the back to like flip. You're kind of just like pinching through mid all the time and like flooding like a side of the map, which at the very least it might not play like a traditional hardpoint where you want to like go around, take your time, break spawns, but you're kind of like, I don't know, it makes way more sense. I feel like that's kind of how these maps were meant to flow, and it would be better if it played that way on other maps. Like, I don't know how to explain it.
Also, keep in mind, trophy systems exist now, and that never existed in the past. And I also think that plays a large, you know, part for where ARs can post up on some of these maps. And if they have a trophy, they survived. Back in the day, you got hit with a stun nade, and it was back to the respawn screen. So I think that also plays a big factor.
After playing for a long time, I get we had trophies in BO2, but we had EMPs, and I think that. Yeah, it works with EMPs. Without EMPs, I think trophy system should have been gone a long time ago. I think we should have been playing legitimately stun nade COD, and then tac mask and flak. Yes, they can do counters. Tac should automatically full counter a stun. Like, period.
That's why I didn't mind World War II Hardpoint. Like, I mean, I know we've talked about this before, but like no trophy, and you could run the like counter perk, or you could run the fast strafe and not have the counter perk. And I mean, yeah, like I think with trophy systems now, you could get into setups that just without EMPs.
I think I would actually, thinking about it, I would actually not mind a COD where there's no trophy system and flaks or flak and tac actually like work properly. Like flak, it should be a counter nades. You should take like 2-3 nades to die depending on how close the nade is. And then tac mask should fully counter a stun, because then it would kind of incentivize people to not only move, but it would also incentivize more people to like run tac mask if you got fully countered and there was no trophy systems. And but if they there needs to be an EMP in the game if we're gonna play the fucking trophy COD, bro. Because the fact that people are just so freely allowed to just throw a trophy at their feet behind a piece of cover, mind you, not in the open, no way of countering it, and just you have to use an entire push in Call of Duty to get rid of a trophy system, and you got to do it fast enough to hope that once you do break the trophy system, you spawn up, hit the hill again, and he doesn't have another one. Like, that's so.
I think
terrible.
You guys had the nail on the head in terms of like the state of the game. I think going back to the whole update itself, I think that a continuing concern for a lot of these challengers players specifically is that these updates seem to come every single time before a tournament. I don't know what the timing is based on. It's like they're trolling, but I don't think they are. I think it's obviously just based on when the updates are ready to go out live, and obviously they have set dates that those deadlines are set by. This one was based on like the season 1 of the game itself for like the DLC and whatnot. So
one thing I've never understood, Mark, you know how there's this, I mean, you were in the CDL, you obviously have experience with this. You know, there's an esports build.
Yeah.
Why is the esports build why don't they have like a pro player build, right? And then they have like a watered down esports build that's open to everyone in the public. So it's basically a build that has the same exact rules, spawns, etc. as the professional one. It doesn't have to have ranked in it. It doesn't have to have. It just has to have private match. Literally the bare bones private match esports settings that are currently out, and allow the public to use it. Why the fuck is there not an open public build?
We've talked about this for a long time, Chris, and other games have it. It's called a public test server, right? And not only can you do things like you're mentioning, you can also test changes before they go live, which a lot of games do this. I don't know if you guys saw, but like we announced for XDefiant, we're going to have a public test server, and it's like, I don't understand why COD couldn't do that. I'm not sure what the downside is for them, but outside of your example of having like something esports specific, trying new shit. Like imagine you were able to try out this new spawn system a month ago and give feedback in this public test environment before it rolled out public, because obviously pros aren't able to test these things, right? They're giving feedback, devs are making changes, and then it's getting rolled out in an update. But imagine you could go in and have even a mass population test, like of a public test environment, and get feedback on spawn changes. Like that's a pretty big gameplay impacting thing. That I never understood from Call of Duty standpoint. I think it's only positive, but there obviously has to be a reason, because they obviously have the esports build for pros. It's a possible thing for them. I'm not sure why they haven't rolled it out.
Yeah, it's probably one of those ones where they just don't want to give access to sort of the higher level stuff, I guess, to the public. I don't know. I don't know the reason behind it. Even if it was just not even another build of the game, even if it was like in private match, you can like use the previous patch, just the one previous patch. That you can't have a list of like 20 different patches, but just the ability to change it back to one previous patch, so at least there's a bit of a competitive integrity there, so we're not sitting playing 3 days of scrims on a map where, multiple maps, where we're having to completely change the way we play a game. And obviously I speak from a perspective of someone who's working in Challengers with a Challengers roster, so it's definitely frustrating a little bit, something that I'm new to as well, obviously previously been in the CDL, so I think that it's definitely one of those things that is pretty frustrating for those guys, and some of them that have had to deal with it for years. But yeah, I want to talk more so about this weekend's matches now, and I think that starting off, I think that last week I was actually pretty concerned with Miami's performance last week in their matches, and this week they come in 3-0, 3-0, two very strong teams in OpTic and LAG. I think last week I said if they went in 1-1, they would be in a good position. I think coming out 2-0 and not dropping a single map is an incredible performance out of them. And I think, to be honest, from my experience as well, when you have these guys who go back to Europe during Christmas and New Year time, and this is what I experienced when I was the coach of Toronto as well, when they come back, they've had like a lot more weeks off scrims in comparison to a lot of the other teams who maybe, scrim in between Christmas and New Year and all those sort of things. So they've had quite a few weeks off. They then come in, they're not playing great to start. But then after a couple of weeks, they're getting back into the groove again. And obviously you heard from Lucky and Vico and the conversations they were having in their post-game interviews. They were coming out and saying that they just need to simplify things and make sure they were getting down to their bread and butter and playing again as a team. And I think that they obviously shown that. And I think it was an incredible performance out of them this weekend. And Metals in particular against OpTic, I think he absolutely destroyed them. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how they do in that rematch again at the major.
They absolutely surprised me. I was not expecting them to come out this hot against, two good teams. I am interested though, because they did play LAG, and LAG kind of had the opposite, right, performance. They were hot before before we last week and the week before, and then they looked terrible this week. So it's like I want to see a little bit more before I'm riding the train. But when we get into the bracket portion later on, I think you guys might have I might have a surprise for who I think's winning one of those round one matchups. But yeah, I mean, I'm high. I'm the V-Bucks, the Vamos Bucks.
I'm not jumping on any trains anymore. I've been jumping on too many trains. I'm just chilling at the station right now. I'm just going to wait out, because every week I'm predicting like these guys. They played great this week. Then the next week they come in, they're horrible. Maybe I'm the curse. And then whoever plays bad, I'm like, they're horrible. And then next week they come in and they're hot. So I'm just going to sit firmly on the fence at the station, waiting to go.
I don't want to know what my predictions were this weekend in terms of the last I think maybe 1 or 2 weekends. I think I actually got over 80% of them wrong this weekend. Bro, because I kept banking on the teams that looked good before to play well, and then they got shit on, and then all the teams that I expected to do bad bounced back and won their games, and I was just like, dude, what is going on, man? I actually today I got 2 of them right, but I feel like they were kind of they were obvious. I think it was the FaZe and New York one, but every other day was just a blender. I kept banking on Carolina to have a bounce back. They didn't have a bounce back. I kept saying LAG should beat these 2 mid-tier pack teams. It was like Miami and who was it? ROKKR. Yeah, Miami LAG just kind of fell off this weekend. They had a Miami weekend basically from the weekend prior. So yeah, I don't know, but Miami, yeah, dude, they look fucking great. Vickle looks way better, more comfortable with AR in his hands. Obviously, Metal's been playing good. Lucky's been playing good. Journey has had a couple moments, but their teamwork just looks so much better than a couple of teams in the league. I think the fact that OpTic is playing so poorly, I think they went 0-6 in terms of map count this weekend, is unacceptable for the level of talent they have on their team. And how well they're paid, because I think they probably are. If not, they're definitely the most paid team in the league. I don't know what's going on with them, but why does it always fucking seem like every year this team struggles to find consistency and teamwork? Like they had a little bit of it with Dan Ghosty on their team, and when you would go to their listen-ins, he definitely you could definitely see why, but it just started getting worse and worse, and even before him, it was just terrible. Like, why is it that a team that is this talented just simply cannot put it together, bro? It doesn't make any fucking sense.
And why do they have these stints when it seems like no other top team does? You know what I mean? Like, to go winless on a weekend versus, I get the FaZe one, right? Like, that one I could predict, but like getting smoked by Miami was like how is that happening? At least make it competitive. So I don't know, Chris. I agree with you. I think what this weekend showed me at least is that our top 4 is a little bit more defined, right? Before this weekend, we were kind of like, all right, we know our top 4, but we don't know where they rank. And at least now, I mean, I think OpTic is on that 4th, 5th spot. And with same with New York, like they don't look.
Miami
as good
go
as
to this
Ultra
event and outplace OpTic.
So,
I am going to fully say that OpTic is not a top 4 team this year, at least until they improve. Yeah, until they, or at least for now, until they improve. Right now, because the thing is, the thing is,
crazy thing.
The thing is, it's like watching them,
especially from our preseason.
Everything that they do as a team and like how they play the game doesn't look like a top 4 team to me, but they squeak by because of how talented they are. And then this week, they didn't squeak by shit, and they continued to obviously play the same. Exactly, and then it's series, like slowly
right? like slang-wise
turning my opinion of them being a top 4 team, and it's like slowly it's one of those things I want to say it, but I can't justify saying it yet. But it's getting fucking close. And I know like a lot of people in the comments or people on Reddit might be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you're just overreacting. It's, OpTic, like they have Dashy and Pred and stuff like that. They're a top 4 team. Bro, they need to start producing consistently, because every other top 4 team is producing pretty consistently in comparison.
Yeah, I think that OpTic and FaZe, Ultra and FaZe are the only 2 teams that you're thinking they're an absolute banker on to win majority of series. Everyone else is just, who knows? Who knows what you're going to get? I can't predict them at the minute. It's like you said, it's kind of like those 2 at the top, and then the rest are fighting out to see who fits in the top 4. I think New York and obviously Miami and OpTic are in that sort of area, but again, you're not seeing consistent results at OpTic at the minute, so it's one of those things that they could come into the major and potentially finish top 3. Like, they're weird. They're a weird team like that at the minute, and I think that for me, it's going to be hard to predict them in the majority of the season. But talking about some of the kind of teams that we were hating on, I think Minnesota were definitely one. They were getting a lot of hate. They only had a victory against Carolina coming into this week. Then they come in and get victories over LAG and Seattle. Minnesota with 2 big wins and squeeze into winners bracket, which honestly, Again, who could have predicted?
I mean, yeah. My thing about this ROKKR squad is like, so they were 0-4, right? And then they beat Carolina. Okay, so they're 1-4, and we're coming into this week. And then they get the worst version of the Gorillas that I think we've ever seen so far. And then they also get Seattle, who I've never really been that high on Seattle. So I'm still not, too high on this ROKKR team. I think they had a good weekend. I think Linz had a great weekend as well. I thought he stepped up. But for me, I can't look past who they beat, right? And I know they got a winner bracket spot, and I know they went 2-0 on the weekend. They had, they can only beat who's in front of them, but it's kind of the same thing of like when we looked at Heretics after the week 1, they kind of did the same thing. They beat like 3 bottom teams, and then they got smoked in the next weekend. And for me, I still want to see more because individually, I'm not overly hype on anyone on this squad except for Linz. Like, I think Awakening's still pretty average. Lamar still pretty average. I know he had a decent series this weekend, but especially going into LAN, I have no idea how this team is going to perform. Like, I'm surprised they got a winner bracket spot. Again, they beat 3. They can only beat who's in front of them, but they weren't 3 impressive teams. But I mean, I will give them credit for winning, right? At the end of the day, they still came in, went 2-0, and got in the winner bracket. So I don't know. I'm still not high on them.
Not high on Minnesota. I think Vivid played really well this weekend. I don't know how consistent he's going to be, but am I crazy to say that this current Minnesota roster is exactly structured as the Seattle roster prior that Lamar was on is? It's literally got Lamar. He's obviously playing like Lamar, but he's playing a little bit better, to be fair. I think Awakening is playing like Mac when he was mid. Because Mac, like at points during that Seattle run, he was kind of mid. And then like he had a couple turn up times, which we have yet to see, but like mid. Okay. And then you have your 2 clear stars. It was fucking Sib and Pred. And right now it's Reese playing really well and Lynn's playing really well. I almost feel like it's the exact same type of team, but probably with less individual talent.
But I would say their stars aren't anywhere near as good as Pred and Sid.
Bro, the thing that was the trend, and this was your thing, Seattle was like a roller coaster, bro. They would go up and they would come down. And listen, right now they're up.
Yeah.
But I don't see a world where they don't come down from this at some point soon because exactly. So I don't really know where this is going to go. Right? Like, I don't think this is going to go much further than, what they're doing now.
Yeah, for me, they were like complete bottom of the league though before the Carolina victory. So I do think, although I'm not high on them now, 3 wins is still an impressive feat considering they were, in my opinion, in the first couple of games looking like the worst roster in the league by a considerable margin. So yeah.
They started 0-4.
And another team that's kind of been in that conversation as well as Carolina. I mean, they've still not been looking great at all, even though they've made those 2 changes, bringing in Fellow. TJ was playing last week, but obviously they've just announced that he's going to be sticking with them until the major. But again, 2 game 5s against FaZe and LAT, unable to close out either of them. And I think that it's just the same old story, really. I mean, even with GodderX coming out the roster, Tyler Fellow, absolutely love the guy. He comes in, I don't think he plays particularly well either. I think it's kind of...
He actually he's last in KD. He's like the same
it's
spot
one of those
GodderX
things,
was.
though, I think that
KD.
They've had a couple of days of practice. I don't want to come in right now and say lateral move right away, but it does reek of that, to be honest. I think it does definitely reek of a lateral move, and I think that that's definitely something that is interesting, that they've went down the route of going for a kind of more experienced guy. But I guess they've got those sort of young, talented players in amongst there. But again, I'm not too enthusiastic about the move. I'm interested in what you guys think.
I think it'll play out to be a lateral move. I think right now what it gives them is a little bit more confidence. Like GodderX was playing horribly. Like let's not lie, he was playing very bad. And they made a change for him, so I think it gives them a little bit more confidence of like, okay, we can get back on track. I know they went game 5 against FaZe. They were down 2-0 and could have got 3-0 if Clay didn't have like an insane turnaround. He started frying. But I expected them, if I'm going to see the turnaround for them, right? They lose game 5 to FaZe, I'm going to expect them to come out and just shit on LAT, right? LAT has looked terrible. I think they were actually the dead last team before they played. and then LAT come out and Neslo him. And, we get some individual performances out of Clay, but Gwyn also world starred. He had like a 1.4 in this LAT series, and they still get Neslo. They don't ice up. They were up 4-1 game 5. Guy came back on. That's kind of the turning point for me where I was like, I would have, gotten a little bit higher on them had that series looked different, but you can't lose to the worst team in the league, which LAT was prior, and expect, people to kind of turn their head. So I think at the end of the day, I think this will turn out to be a lateral move. I actually think TJ will probably end up replacing Real long term. I actually haven't thought TJ has played bad whatsoever. I think he's been a solid pickup for them. Because to come in on the team and be like, aside from Clay's last 2 series of stepping it up, TJ's probably been their second best player outside of Gwyn. So I like that pickup. The fellow one, I know, Chris, I think you said you think this enables Clay to play a little bit more aggressive, whatever, but I don't necessarily know if Clay should be that player. Like, if you look at the average hill time, Clay's like last in average hill time, and everyone else above him is like Pred, Hydra, like these like superstar SMGs. So I don't know if Clay playing this like aggressive Slayer enabling role makes as much sense, and then having fellow play a reserved role. So I don't know. I want to see how this pans out on land, but I think it's going to end up being a lateral change.
In terms of it being a lateral change, listen, Clay picked the fellow so that way he could kill her a little bit more and maybe extend the life of his career some by obviously putting up some good stats and hopefully landing him a spot next year. No, I'm trolling. I love Clay, but the funny thing is, it's just like I called it. I literally said Clay's going to play way better because micromanaging and playing is very hard, very stressful, and he's probably fed up with it. I don't know how that's going to transition in the long term. I probably do think it's going to be a lateral move unless Fellow just starts playing way better, because right now he's just not really given any signs of this changing the team that dramatically. I will say that, Teej is a good pickup. I still think Gwyn is good, and he'll definitely have those series. I don't really know if Clay's going to be able to keep up this type of consistency. If he does, fair play. But I'm curious to know where this team will go in the future if, it turns out that Fellow is not really bringing much more added value to at least start bringing them in series wins. But who do we got next here in our weekend recap? We got one more team, Seattle, right?
Yeah, just wanted to talk a little bit about Seattle and not more so about the game itself or their matches, but I think the GA situation, which has been obviously a very hot topic. They love it.
They can't stop, Mark.
They love it. Kyler as well.
They love breaking them.
He absolutely loves it. I don't think it's intentional. It's one of those ones. I know Kyler, he's probably unintentionally done it because he's playing pubs beforehand. He's snaking people. He's coming into the game. He's like, I'm just going to sit on this back head and just start snaking. For me, it's one of those ones. There needs to be a punishment for it, but again, I feel bad because I think that it's not intentional whatsoever. Will we see a more sort of serious punishment? It's definitely been something that's been talked about. What are your thoughts on what they should be sort of punished with?
I don't even know at this point. Like, these guys are 4-time repeat offenders. Clearly whatever they're being punished with isn't working. Like, they've basically broken every GA in the book so far. They had the setting, snaking.
I still think setting one is crazy, bro. Like, that one is...
These guys have...
That's an unacceptable one.
Yeah, that one's unacceptable, yeah. But think about it. Smoke, trophy, the setting, and now snaking. Like, what other GA is there to break? These guys have literally checked off every box. I don't know if they're, like, going for that, but... Yeah, I mean, look, this team is one of those squads that, like, when I look at their team, it seems like they'd be the, like, ones to do it just because of the personalities on the squad. Obviously, it's not intentional, but it's like a carelessness thing. So yeah, I don't even know. I don't know what the GA chat is looking at and, where these teams are at. I wonder if teams even care at this point because Seattle is, not that great of a squad. Like, it sounds terrible to say, but there would be way more uproar if it was like a top 4 squad that was breaking GAs versus like the Seattle squad. But yeah, I don't know, Mark.
Yeah, maybe it's one of those ones where no one cares because they're like, well, if we don't scrim Seattle, like, I mean, it's not like we're losing out on good practice. Yeah, so it's one of those ones I think that it's going to continue to kind of be talked about throughout the season. I'm sure it's not going to be the last time we see someone breaking a GA. But again, it's getting pretty tedious, to be honest, that we're in this situation in the first place, that we need to rely on trust and all these sort of things. That's what it is. But
all right, it's finally time. Let's review our selections presented by PrizePicks. I got some bad news for us. We did not do well on Friday. We started hot in the first 2 series, and then we're absolutely let down in the last 2. We're putting in $25 entries each week. Lamar, that one's been good for us. Lamar less hit last week, this week as well. Maybe we should jump down into 3. What do you guys think? Instead of doing 4 projections, we drop it down to 3.
We got to get one on the board, Pat.
Okay, so that's what we'll do. Until we get one on the board, we'll drop it back to 3 for our upcoming weeks. But yeah, looking at this one, the ROKKR versus LAG, Lamar did hit less for us. Lucky as well was less. And then that OpTic Miami series, though, I don't know what happened to OpTic. It was over in a blink of an eye. So obviously Kenny could not get more than 50 and a half kills. He was way less. What did you guys think? Did we mess up, or was this series just so weird?
I think that we made 2 smart choices. We went with Lamar and Lucky, 2 very stiff ARs, and we've went less. We've hit the nail on the head there. I think that Kenny and Toby, CleanX, I think that, again, we weren't expecting these series to be as big of a blowout as they were. And I think that, to be honest, it's one of those ones where if I was to go back to last week, I'd probably predict the same thing. So for me, I think that we weren't too bad, but I would like to see us go with some more maybe clear-cut options for our next picks.
I'm actually just surprised that New York got cooked so bad and Ultra and our CleanX still hit less.
Dude, the series was just over so fast. There was not enough kills on the map for him to get.
It was 250 to 90 first map, wasn't it?
Yeah,
so
they smoked him.
At the end of the day, there's not enough time for him to get more interactions, even though he was setting pace.
The fact that he had 50 in that short of a game is still impressive.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, not much to say. This one did not pan out, but hopefully next week, looking at the games, let's look. We got our major one. Think about it this way, too. We're going on LAN. So I don't know if that's going to change our projections, but we are on LAN. So we're going to jump it down to 3 players instead of 4. So looking at these series, do we want to dabble in this LAG versus FaZe one?
I wouldn't mind going with Assault less, to be honest. I wouldn't mind that. I think that this could be like a very, very quick series. So for me, I think that could be one of the options we go down, going with the main AR. Because FaZe, I mean, they're just looking, I don't even know how to describe them. They're just looking undefeatable.
Yeah.
Insane,
I will
amazing,
say, Mark,
incredible.
I looked up some stats. On LAG, Fame of everyone on this squad against the top 3 teams they've played so far has like a 0.7 KD. Everyone else is like a 1.0. Fame is the only one struggling against these top teams. I don't know if that changes your mind. I don't hate the Assault less, but Fame has not looked good against any top team so far. Chris?
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I mean, I like the way you're going, but I know Fame as a player. He loves LAN. He gets better at LAN. At least he did in Challengers. I don't know if that'll be the case here, and at least versus Atlanta FaZe, it's probably a pretty tall task, but he does get better on LAN. So I don't know how much more that's going to impact the series, but he's been their streakiest player by far in terms of like ceiling and floor. So like we're just hoping that he doesn't pop off. Right, because he's obviously popped off a couple times.
But it's usually been against the bad squads.
It has, but still, I'm like, I'm just scared. I'm like, fuck, what if he drops a 1.3?
You think Assault's the safe choice for less, though?
I think Assault is probably the safe choice because I expect them all to hit less, if we're being consistent, but like, I don't want to take a risk on somebody that's either dropping a 1.3 or a 1 point or a 0.7.
Or a 0.6.
Yeah, and while
Fair
Assault
enough.
is kind of always dropping like a 1.0 or less, and like he's probably lower on the engagement side, so it's probably a smarter pick for picking Assault on the less.
Alrighty, fair enough. We'll go with that projection for the next one. Listen, Lamar Less has hit 2 weeks in a row. It's hit 2 weeks in a row. And I don't know if this ROKKR squad is going to keep playing the way they've been playing against New York, especially on LAN. I think New York's going to come out hot. I could see New York steamrolling this series. I personally want to go with Lamar Less. Listen, it's been a lock so far,
bro. At this point, do we just go like Less on like every like bad team's main AR? I feel like you just can't lose.
Yeah,
like
that's a good point.
Like that might be the cheese strat.
It may be.
So you would say we'd add Arcitys to that then.
Yes.
I mean, to be fair, I was gonna say I did not want to put an entry in OpTic versus Miami because like I don't know what's gonna happen in that series. Like that could go either way for me. Like what we've seen so far, I don't know what to expect. So if we're knocking down from 4 entries to 3,
bro,
that's the series I want to avoid.
If we were to go 4 entries or 3 entries, bro, we just hit this. We hit the Arcitys, Lamar, Assault, Less trio, bro. If we get this wrong, we're in hell, bro. There's no way.
Well, like the only concern I would really have would be high-rise control because you always see those maps going down to kills. But looking at the sort of previous matches that ROKKR have played, they've been banning it for the most part from the looks of it.
And I think
if we got it in the Atlanta one, I think they'd slam them on it.
I think Gorillas plays Atlanta on Invasion. They played that in their series online, and I'm assuming they will play that again.
I also think Atlanta would get that map out against them. I don't know why. Like high rise being the map it is, like I could see Atlanta not wanting to play it against LAG either way, even if LAG left it in.
We actually have a lot.
I was talking ROKKR, sorry.
Just
to clarify.
No. I think we agreed with you. We just moved on because we agree. Like ROKKR's not going to play that one.
I think Seattle also will play either in. I think Seattle plays Invasion or Karachi. I don't think we've even seen them play a high rise, so we're going to be avoiding those maps. I think in probably the first 3 series, if not at least 2 out of 3. If I saw a high rise played on more than 1 series out of the first 3 series, I would be surprised, like very surprised.
Yeah, me too.
So we're confident.
I'm confident with our first 2.
Our first 2, not our third one.
I'm not entirely sure what we should do with the third choice.
Arcitys Less, bro. Who else? What else are you taking? I'm not taking more on any of the Ultra players simply because I feel like if they absolutely clear the series, this is the problem. Like going more is so contingent on like a close game, not necessarily the skill of the player. Like I think like for example, CleanX definitely had the skill to hit more in our last projection, but he didn't because it was such a dominant series, right? While hitting Less is more like safe because it's like it's just obviously it's skill, but also like series like closeness combined. It's just so free.
The only problem is like because I agree with you for the most part, Chris. But then we look at like Clayster, right? Like we wanted to take Clayster Less, I think, a couple of times, but he had a pop off series. These last 2 matches.
Yeah, but that's like an anomaly. That's like a mega anomaly. You know what I mean? Like that's not gonna like and no listen, no offense, but I just don't see Lamar ever having a series like that. Assault. Like, bro, this ain't World War II. I love the guy, but I haven't seen him play like that good in a long time. And Arcitys, like my boy. I think he's had like maybe 1 really good like series. I think this whole stage. So I don't know if he's gonna have any more.
I think it's a safe choice. But for me, if we're wanting to go about rogue. OpTic versus Miami.
Don't tell me you're adding us a 4th entry.
The shot. No.
I'm trying to argue
Less?
the third. Listen. The crowd are going to be going crazy. Miami, apart from 1 player, haven't played on a big stage in a while. You know what I mean? They're going to be a bit rusty up on that first game.
No way you want to get Lucky Less again.
The OpTic fans are going to be going wild.
The Lucky Less.
It's going to be a closer match than what we've seen online. And Lucky on the Less.
Do we just go 4? Should we just go 4 projections?
Just go all the stiff ARs. Let's do it.
All in on stiff ARs.
Listen, guys, we started with $200 and we're down to $125. We're doing $25 entries here. Do we go for one more time? If we lose it, then we'll drop down to
Honestly,
3?
bro, the all-in less on stiff ARs just might actually make us millionaires. I'm not gonna lie.
All right, so we're gonna do our day 1 on LAN in Boston projection of all main ARs going less. That's what we're locking in.
I'm
Dude,
down
it's
for it.
so
I'm
trolly,
down for
but
it.
it's so funny because I swear to God, it's been the trend every single match, dude. I just see the main AR, just no engagement, just marinating in the back of the map.
Yeah, and then one of them's going to make a role switch or something just right before the match. Someone's going to make a role switch and
just pull out the
start
rival
destroying.
9 and start going rogue.
Listen, all right, we'll lock this in this week.
I can't take another heartbreaking.
Yeah, but we're gonna
Projection loss.
we're gonna come back here next Monday, and Mark, if you threw in this 4th entry and it doesn't hit, I'm gonna be real upset. But thank you to PrizePicks. They now offer Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account, as well as easy and enormous selection of players. So PrizePicks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app. But yeah. Thank you guys so much. Go to prizepicks.com/reverse sweep and use code reverse sweep for a first deposit match up to $100.
And now we're going to get into the bracket predictions. So, this is the spicy part. I'm really looking forward to this. What's your guys' thoughts on the first matchup? We've got FaZe versus LAG. Take it away, Pat.
FaZe 3-0, not close. hopefully the assault less hits hit for us here, but yeah, no. FaZe is looking insane. I was actually decently high on LAG until this last weekend, but either way, I don't think they're going to be a matchup for this FaZe squad firing on all cylinders. All these players, literally, if you look at their stats after every the scoreboard stats after all their series, I don't think one of them has been negative yet. No bullshit. Like they've been world starring. This team looks insane. They're always green. So yeah, I got full faith in this FaZe squad.
Dude, you're hilarious, bro. I can't take you serious.
No. Have you not seen the scoreboards? It's literally just a sea of green and a sea of red for their opponents. They've been just world starring.
Bro,
everybody.
I feel like with their last match against OpTic, they might be the new green wolf. We're just looking at their stats.
Yeah, so we gotta move FaZe. Chris, I don't know if you disagree, but this team is looking insane. This is the one
honestly,
where I'm 100%.
No, yeah, I definitely agree. I definitely disagree with you. I think LAG are going to put up a valiant effort.
Chris, they're going to play serious. They're going to play perfect bracket.
Listen, LAG is going to play well. They're going to play fast. They're going to play furious. But ultimately, FaZe 3-0.
Okay.
Listen, there's going to be an upset, but it's not this series. It's definitely not this series. FaZe 3-0. Quick one. We're getting started quick on Thursday.
This is going to be one of the series of all time, for sure.
The Gorillas will fall to lock in against the Thieves and Losers.
Honestly, bro, listen,
sure.
LAG got Neslo'd by FaZe at the first event in Modern Warfare 2. How insane is that? The LAG Academy team.
But that was when the event was so early. Like, if you were ahead in Hardpoint, you could have been really ahead.
Yeah.
Now we're late January. FaZe is ahead of everybody. But yeah, FaZe for sure.
All right.
Yeah, let's swiftly move past that one. We've got Miami versus OpTic next. I'm going to take the floor with this one, right?
Ahead,
because
Mark, lead us off.
I want to lead here.
Mark, remember, you're still at the train station. You're not hopping on any trains. That's what you said.
No. I'm not hopping on any trains. Miami, no, I'm not buying the ticket. OpTic, though, I'm not buying the ticket fully. I was about to start going in there.
You're browsing the selection.
Listen, I'm using non-gameplay logic here, right? I mentioned it in the PrizePicks segment.
Crowd cheese.
OpTic with the crowd cheese, exactly. Kenny, his first time on stage as an OpTic player, he's shooting straight. Trust me. Kenny's going to be destroying. I'm thinking it's going to be a swift one. I'm thinking 3-1 OpTic is my prediction. Bold one. Some may say an upset, but I think OpTic crowd cheese. Let's get it.
I respect the crowd cheese, but I'm gonna level up here, Mark, and give you something even stronger. The day 1 event cheese. So if you remember, I think it was Major 3 last year when Boston came in and smoked OpTic. This was like the Beans Masterclass series, and it was the day 1, and everybody was like, "What the fuck just happened?" I think we're gonna get the same thing here. And I'm going to go with the Miami Heretics sending OpTic down to the loser bracket. Mark, keep in mind, the crowd cheese can only work when momentum is on your side. If they don't win map 1 or map 2, the crowd can't get hype. So I'm going to go with the day one event cheese, which I think is a stronger indicator than the crowd cheese.
A stronger cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
cheese
little,
off.
it's a little stinkier.
This
It's a little
is the aged
stinkier. You know what I
Gouda.
mean?
This is the aged Gouda here, Mark.
Yeah, see, I don't know, Pat. Like, here's the thing. Like, OpTic is gonna have the crowd. I feel like they're so delusional, like Pred and Dashy, like that whole like mentality, like confidence, like dynamic.
Where was that this weekend? They didn't win a map.
Listen, they're gonna come in so ultimately delusional at this event. With all the support and just their first events on OpTic with like Kenny and Pred, and you know what? At the end of the day, they're still going to lose to Miami Heretics.
Let's go.
Miami Heretics teamwork is way too strong right now. I feel like they've been keeping up with the talent a little bit, and dude, they just look like they actually know how to play the game. I feel like OpTic kind of don't know how to play. Is that crazy to me? Like they don't know how to like.
I think it's crazy.
I feel like they're just so like here's the thing, bro. This is the gameplay talking, right? Remember I said this game has no flow? I feel like every other game it was almost like very self-explanatory with how to like break a hill or something, right? Like it just made sense. It like the game directed you in certain ways. This game, it's like everything is so open. You can kind of do whatever you want. And I feel like that's causing confusion. It's causing a loss in cohesiveness where I feel like they're kind of all just like running around. Like they just have different ideas of how they want to approach the game. And it's not like panning out.
I also feel like you can't ego chow as much. Like if you could ego chow in this game, I think this OpTic team would be way better.
Yeah, this is not a scammers game.
But I agree, Chris. And I also don't think I think this OpTic team will figure it out, right? I think that will happen. But I don't think it's going to happen in 5 days, right? Like that's we actually even less. They play Thursday, so they got 4 days. I don't think they're going to figure out these issues in 4 days. And while Miami is team dinners, they're going to movies together. Their teamwork is at an all-time high. So yeah, Heretics, we're moving them up. Winners round 2. OpTic's got to play the Legion in losers. That's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, after they had to reverse sweep them.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
We won't get into that match yet, but we'll move on to the Ultra and Surge match
3-0.
here, and
Ultra 3-0.
Yeah,
fastest match of the weekend.
Fastest match of the weekend.
Surge is going to be breaking J's and still getting mollywopped.
Nah, surely not.
Surge could install hacks in this series, and Ultra is still. Listen, Ultra is the best respawn team in the game right now, and they're no slouch at S&D. So for me, I mean, from what we've seen so far, I know Ultra had that quick 3-0 against Boston, but that to me was like just a blip on the radar. I'm almost not even acknowledging it. They've looked insane in every series they've played. Outside of that one,
these are like two opposites, bro. Like Ultra's like so calm, cool, and collected in the way like they communicate and like approach the game, and like they just all know what's going on at all times. They know what they need to do. While you listen to like Seattle, and it's just fucking chaos. Like just people just like talk, like it's just everyone's just fucking screaming comms. Like Kyler's going rogue, just literally running around the map. If they
dumpsters,
if they kill Kyler, like initially pushing anything, they're gonna lose their heads. Like. It's going to be over. Scrappy's going to get up on stage and call him dog shit, and they're going to move past the series like they didn't even play a match.
The thing is, right, I'll open up a question to you, though, but there's some cheese that you're forgetting about. There's the Ender. This is my city cheese. You're forgetting about that. You're forgetting about that cheese.
City.
We're talking.
They're going to be in Boston.
He's from Canada.
No, he's from Toronto. Though, so whenever he plays against the Toronto Ultra, he's looking fierce on the map. That's all I'm saying. I'm just throwing out there.
This is my city cheese. I own you.
New cheeses here. Yeah, exactly. No, but honestly, I'm going to go with Ultra as well. 3-0. It could be close. It could be close on the S&D, but I think overall you're just seeing from top to bottom, Ultra are just looking phenomenal.
We've
really.
also already seen this fucking matchup in the league. They got cooked.
Yeah.
They didn't get shit on. They got cooked. This guy aBeZy literally had like a 0.7 or something. Like literally, he got fried. Like there's no.
And I could be pulling pure fugazi out, so I might need to fact check this, but I'm just going to throw it at the wall anyway. Just going to throw it out there. I think Seattle, honestly, for the most part, haven't looked great against. I mean, they have won obviously a lot of S&Ds, but I think a lot of their S&D victories have came against weaker opposition in S&D specifically.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean that's always going to be the downside, right? In winners round 1, we got our top 4 there, but the teams that have looked stellar should have no trouble. Same for the next series, right? ROKKR barely squeaked in. I don't like they could have easily started in losers. They started off 0-4 in the league, and then they beat 3 teams that are starting in losers. So, I'm subliners. This is going to be a Kismet 99 Bulldog takeover series. I think the subliners have looked shaky and respawns at times online, but I think this is actually a team that improves on LAN. As good as they already are, I think this whole squad gets better on LAN. I think it's they're our reigning world champs. So I think they're going to come in. They're going to take care of business. They're going to make sure Lamar hits our under. And yeah, we're going to see a flawless subliner.
I mean, my thing is,
here.
bro, like Dante actually might break like his record in this series because his AR competition are 2 of like the worst statistical ARs in the entire league. Like, if they play AR heavy maps, he's about to absolutely world star because the other team has 0 frontline pressure from their AR or backline pressure from any of their AR players right now. That being said, I could still see maybe ROKKR squeaking out a map. Like, I feel like they've made the improvements but it's yet to be seen against any of the good teams. But like they got some decent talent on there with the way they've been performing, and they're going to go into this major with their heads held high and like confident. So at the very least, that confident maybe can carry them to like at least fighting back or maybe putting up a map win if they get one of their map picks or something. But I still just have full confidence in New York. I think New York is a sleeper team, and I feel like New York can win this event. They might not have been as clean as FaZe or Ultra in terms of like how they played online, but like the grittiness that they've had this entire split, like they are going to be such a well prepared team for like anything, and like they've been through a lot of already they've been through a lot of like chaotic series already, and like at these events, like having that experience under your belt where you're constantly having to battle back regardless of the strength of each team, like it could carry them far. So yeah, I got New York this series for sure though.
Yeah, I'm not going to waste any more time. I think it's going to be a 3-0 for New York. Let's not even beat around the bush. I'm not even going to talk about it. It's going to be 3-0.
I like that.
Yeah, we're not going to waste any more time. Going into the...
Day
are we
2.
going to go through... Do we want to go into losers bracket now then?
Yeah, we'll knock... This is day 2,
right.
so we'll knock this out.
Okay. Oh, we have the Battle of LA to start us off here.
Gorillas.
Love that.
Again.
Honestly, what's your guys' thoughts?
Gorillas again. They beat them already. They're going to win again.
I think they're undefeated in the Battle of LA.
Yeah, and
like
LA,
a franchise.
bro, LAT.
No, I lost one.
Oh,
my bad, boys. My bad, guys. I lost one.
LAT.
Is that when you were subbing in?
Nah, unfortunately not. Because if I did sub in against them, it would have been curtains for the boys. Would have been curtains for the boys, LAT.
LAT is just not good, bro. Like, I'm yet to be impressed. They almost lost to Carolina, bro. And listen, yeah, Carolina looked a little bit better with like Clay running or Clay playing really well and Tej and Fellow, but it's still Carolina, bro. They almost lost. They probably should have lost. They were down 4-1 last map. They had to Neslo them. LAG, again, they're no slouch in Hardpoint. I feel like this could go maybe to a game 5, maybe 3-1, because LAG's S&D has been pretty poor. But I feel like they're probably going to work on that. While LAT is just going to have some like land superpower activated to like win or like even extend their life in this tournament.
So for me, I disagree. And I'm only going to say this because I think LAT is going to get better at Hardpoint on LAN. That's been their biggest struggle so far, is they've just looked so abysmal in Hardpoint. But they're saying they're winning all their Hardpoint and scrims. So I don't know who they're scrimming against, but they're saying they're winning their Hardpoint and scrims. Now, they are the only team in the league that's playing from Quad LA, which, I mean, regardless of how much of a factor it has, there is a factor in that. So I think LATs will figure out their Hardpoint woes here on LAN, at least enough to beat this Gorilla Squad, because this Gorilla Squad, like, they showed us a lot of light. Like, to me, this squad came out and was like, damn, these guys are playing. But their players are so inconsistent. Like, we talked about Fame earlier. Like, he could be a 1.3 or a 0.7. Esriel's a little bit more consistent, but he's kind of in that same boat. And they really rely on DiamondCon to absolutely fry as well. So I just don't know if we're going to get enough consistency out of these guys to beat this Thieves squad. So I'm going to take Thieves here by 3-1. I think they're going to close it out on a hard point.
Okay, tiebreaker on me then. I think that, to be honest, I think if you're looking at the previous matchup they had, what you've seen so far in the league, you'd probably go LAG. But if you look at every single tournament in COD history, there's always a team that comes in after the online matches and they look terrible, but then they come into the event and they make a little loser bracket run. And for me, that's LA Thieves, baby. LA Thieves are making a loser run. I'm taking LA Thieves on that one. Do you know what it is?
It is what it is.
Do you know why? I think that they've obviously not looked terrible in SD. Their hardpoint's been a struggle. I'm purely relying on the fact that from what I've heard and from everything that's been said online, that they've been doing really well in scrims. I know scrims don't mean anything, but at the end of the day, I'm thinking at some point that they're going to figure out how to translate that into matches, whether there's a teamwork, communication perspective, whatever that may be. Maybe they're getting frantic in matches in comparison to scrims. Maybe if they calm it down. Maybe they don't. Maybe they just get smoked 3-0 by LAG. But I'm going LA Thieves 3-1.
Big thing too, Mark, is they could be at a server, like maybe an even server on scrims, but a server disadvantage in matches. Like, we don't know, right? Because that's the one problem with the Quad LA squad is we just don't know this practice, like how fair it is. So I think it's a safe pick.
Also, I think it's just like, dude, the online cheese is so bad because even regardless if you get an even server with both teams at like a 50 ping to 50 ping, 50 ping to 50 ping is not the same as 0 to 0, like hypothetically. So like the game feels completely fucking
be just better.
Yeah. The game feels completely different, and I feel like I just can't wait to see how these teams stack up at the first event because
also I think Cammy and Afro were on ROKKR, right? Or
yeah, last year.
Yeah, when like ROKKR had that insane run at Boston through losers. They were dropping like 1.5. I know Bance was on the squad, but they were dropping like 1.5s and they ran the loser bracket.
Bance did, and so was Afro playing that well? Was it Afro and Bance?
Now, to be fair, they were winners bracket at that event.
Oh, was it winners? Sure. They
went into winners finals, then they double lost.
Yeah,
but they got top 3 at that event
winners,
for sure.
Yeah, so hey, maybe Boston's their city, you know?
Maybe it is, yeah. Maybe. Moving on to the OpTic versus Legion match, I think that I'm going to go OpTic here. They've got to get a dub on the board. They can't come in first event of the year. They're already in losers bracket. They're not going to lose against the Vegas Legion. That's the way I see it.
Mark, I hate to break it to you, but I got OpTic getting top 12 at the first event.
Nah.
So we saw this online match, right? OpTic went down 2-0 against Vegas. And keep in mind, this is Vegas's first series on the weekend, right? It's Friday afternoon probably. OpTic's coming off a loss from Thursday, right? Think about it this way. OpTic just came off a loss this weekend from Miami and then played FaZe and got 3-0 again. So this OpTic team hasn't had a good history of bouncing back from losses. They're going to lose, in our prediction, they're going to lose to Heretics. And then Legion's going to have them, their first series. I got Legion with a Game 5 upset here. I got them finally clutching up in a Game 5. They've never done it before. The pressure of OpTic, it gets to them. And OpTic goes home with a disappointing top 12. Chris, you got to break the tie.
Listen, I got OpTic. Listen, as much as there's no fucking way that they lose to fucking Legion, regardless of like how shaky they are. They just out-talent a lot of these teams. And yeah, talent doesn't get you that far, but it definitely gets you past the fucking Vegas Legion. So, listen, they're going to win the series.
You don't think this is an attached legacy game?
No, dude.
No, to be honest, I think if you look at some of the other teams that we've potentially, like the likes of Miami, who we're predicting to beat OpTic, right? I think that you've seen a lot of great teamwork out of them. Vegas haven't shown any
This is a
whatsoever,
Purge legacy series, bro.
Yeah, that's the only way that happens. If Purge comes in and just starts dropping at 1.5.
Listen, look, we're gonna look at this when we come back next weekend, and I don't want to have to say I told you guys, so we'll see.
You won't be.
Listen, Pat, if you want to put your money where your mouth is, I'm willing to.
A little side action.
Yeah, a little side action on that. If that happens, to be fair, I mean, you never know. This bracket could be completely wrong. But moving on to the Surge versus Breach match, This is actually a really, really, really nice little loser bracket match here. I'm liking this. I'm liking this matchup.
The upside of this one is that they're at least somewhat equal, right? Like finally we're getting more equal series. From what I saw, I'm going Breach here. I just can't see a world that this Breach squad, who was predicted to be like the 5th best team in the league, come in at their home event on LAN after having to start in losers because they couldn't get it done today and placing 12th. I see them clutching up. The Snoopy kid had some, really bright moments last year on LAN at Champs. I think they get it done against the Surge. I think this is a pretty even game, but I just don't see a world where Breach loses. And keep in mind, Breach has a 10-7 map win-loss record against the current top 4 teams, which is pretty impressive because like no other team has a positive, map loss record against the map win loss against, the top 4. So Breach at least has shown light, whereas the Surge team has been all over the place for me. So I'm going Breach.
I got Breach.
Tyler's going to snake his way to victory. No, I'm joking. What's your thoughts, Chris?
I got Breach. I don't see Surge being that much better, if not. I think they've traditionally, or they have a couple people that have actually gone worse on LAN. I think Hook has actually gotten worse on LAN over the last couple of years in terms of his individual performances, and he's been pretty important to this team's success. He's always putting up high damage, good, decent KD. So if the trend follows, like he's probably going to fall off some on LAN, and I feel like this team cannot afford to have that happen. As for Boston, they have a lot of more successful LAN players on their team. They got Priesta, and they got Slasher. Obviously, those guys have had a lot of success. Cap showed some promise towards the tail end of the last year, and then obviously Snoopy being the new young blood, he's been on the come up and having some pretty good series so far during the online stage. So I think I got Boston win this.
Yeah, for me it's a straightforward one. I think you've got better team, home field advantage, all these other factors. I think it's just an obvious Breach win in my opinion. So let's advance them.
I love when we agree.
Bracket. We're all agreeing together. Look at us. We're a happy family now. Moving on to the ROKKR versus the Royal Ravens. What's your guys' predictions on that one?
Jesus, I might have to miss this match, guys.
Oh really? Gonna fall asleep?
Yeah, this one I like. Man, I want the Ravens to win this one, just because like I don't know if you guys have seen the Ravens guys' tweets after their matches. Like I don't know if they can afford to have another disappointing finish. But like the facts are that their map count is horrible. They basically went on a streak where they got 3-0'd in like 5 series in a row. And then they had these, they were about to get 3-0'd by FaZe, and then Clay had just a miracle turnaround series and battled back. But then they go and lose to the Thieves. I'm just not high enough on this Ravens squad. I don't think this roster change moved the needle for them. I think it would take a pretty big overperformance because I agree the ROKKR guys aren't that great on LAN, and I just don't feel they're consistent. I just don't know what the Ravens are good at. They're not that great at any mode. The only I could see them maybe squeezing out like a game 5 win, but they don't have any ice game 5. They're up 4-1 against Thieves today and just lost it. So I'm gonna have to go ROKKR here. I think Lens is gonna be too much for these guys to handle. But I will say this is gonna be a really good like rookie of the year matchup. Lens versus Gwyn. Those are my top 2 candidates at the moment, and I'm gonna go with Lens here.
Yeah, I'm going with ROKKR. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I just think Ravens is going to realize that they have not moved the needle at all, and they're going to have to go back to the drawing board. Even if Clay has a monster performance, I don't know if he's going to keep that up. So yeah, I've got ROKKR.
Yeah, I want to call this we got to get one bowl this matchup, because whoever wins this match is going to come into Boston and probably lose straight away. But I honestly don't know who's going to win this one, to be honest with you. I think that, I could romanticize it in my head and be like, Clay up on that stage.
A miracle Ravens run.
Ravens run, but honestly, I think from what we've seen so far, and obviously Minnesota are hitting a bit of form, I think you kind of need to favour them in this matchup. Although I think the argument is there to be made that, once Royal Ravens get a bit more practice, maybe that they are favoured in this matchup potentially further down the line, but there's been no signs of that so far.
I know they had GodRx still, but ROKKR just 3-0'd them. Last week, right? It was very recent. They 3-0'd them. So unless some miracle happens, I think we have to take ROKKR here.
Yeah, for sure. And then moving back into the winners bracket matchups here, we've got FaZe versus Heretics. Who you guys got taking that one?
FaZe. There's just no way. If the Heretics beat FaZe here, I would be.
They're the truth.
Mark, you would have to get off the station and on the train because something would be in the air in Miami. I just don't see a world where, there's just too much slaying power on FaZe. And the thing is, we talk about Heretics, they have the teamwork, but it's FaZe have the slaying and the teamwork, right? So I think this is going to be a skill diff series. I think Miami will play well, but FaZe is just too good at this current time. So I'm going FaZe here. And that would put, the loser of this is going to fall all the way down and play Boston or ROKKR, the winner of that. So, it won't be too bad of a loss, but yeah, I'm taking FaZe in the win. Heretics falling down.
I've got FaZe. I mean, Heretics has done well to make it seem like they're a very competitive team, and they will be a competitive team, I think, but not against FaZe. I think FaZe is just too dominant. They beat them and they matched them in every teamwork category you can probably think of, and they out-talent them right now. So, FaZe. Move on.
We may as well have started this prediction show by just whacking FaZe into the winners finals
way through, yeah.
We may as well have just whacked them all the way to the grand finals, to be honest. But I think that, it's impossible to go for Miami in this series. It's just, you're deluded if you predict that. I mean, we've seen weirder things happen, but I think FaZe is a clear-cut favourite there. It's going to be a 3-0 in my opinion. Moving on to the Ultra versus Subliners, which is a matchup that we've just seen this previous weekend, and Ultra absolutely destroyed them. So, do you think things are going to change when we get on LAN here, guys, or do you think it's going to be the same as result as last weekend?
I think it'll be way closer.
Yeah,
but
I think so too.
Dude, Ultra look insane right now. I do think it'll be close, and I think Kiz will play better. On LAN, I think this will be a really good test too for the CleanX Envoy duo, right? On LAN going up against Hydra and Kiz. I think this will be a great sub battle. But I just have more faith in the Ultra ARs. Scrappy's been, I know Sib's been insane, but Scrappy's also been insane. And I think Scrappy, I've heard him on a few Twitch streams talk about that last time they played at Champs last year was a fluke. He said if we played that series 10 other times, it would never end like that. So I think Ultra's going to want that revenge here because they got smoked. That COD Champs final last year was bad. They got fried. And I think they're finally matching up again on LAN. I think they're coming for some revenge. So I'm going to go Ultra, and we're going to get this FaZe Ultra winner final, which I know will be insane. So it has to happen. We have to get Ultra winning this.
Yeah, I bet against Scrappy once. This stage, I'm not going to do it again. I think he's basically proven that he is nothing or not a player to be fucked with. But on top of that, the rest of his team just looks so consistent in every way possible. It's just hard to find a weakness in their game. I feel like they're playing basically up to the same standard as FaZe. At this point, it's hard to it's going to be hard to choose even who wins against FaZe and Ultra, because I think we're probably all going to have Ultra moving on here. But they just both look so consistent talent wise, map pool wise. They're just dominant, bro. They're a good ass team.
Yeah, we've seen this matchup last weekend. I think it's probably going to go a similar way. I think it will be closer though, just because you're probably going to see a change of vetoes and a change of approach, more preparation for the match specifically as well. So I do think it's going to be closer, but I still think that Ultra are going to do the same thing. They're not going to be taking them lightly and being we just 3-0'd them, let's just go on with the same game plan. I'm sure they'll probably adjust some things as well, and expect New York to adjust as well in terms of the map preparations. So for me, I think that it's going to be like 3-1 Ultra. I could maybe see subliners taking. Actually, no. I may go 3-0 Ultra. I'm saying go 3-0 Ultra. It's going to go 3-0 again.
3-0.
It's going to be closer maps, though. It's still going to be a 3-0 Ultra, but it's going to be closer maps overall.
I will say, if this goes Game 5, it could get really interesting.
Yeah, it could, because
this has the possibility of being like the best matchup almost outside of like the winter final, grand final of the whole tournament. So I'm excited for this one, but yeah, I think Ultra's got it.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's one of those ones as well. If it goes Game 5, you could potentially see those nerves creeping in.
Yeah,
maybe someone gets a little bit shaky. But yeah, Ultra for me. And I think obviously all three of us have predicted that. And FaZe Ultra winners final, what a shock. I think that we've obviously all predicted that. But before we get into that prediction, we got to continue through that losers bracket, because there's some matches there that we need to talk about. LA Thieves versus OpTic. Historically a very LA favoured match, I want to say. I could be
but that was
wrong.
with the world champion team that doesn't even exist anymore. That shit's out the window, bro.
Whoa! You're saying Ghosty, Joe Deceives, Cam, and Afro can't be a world championship team?
Ghosty Redemption Series.
Whoa,
Listen,
that's a good shout, Mark. I didn't think about that.
the Ghosty Redemption cheese. I knew it would come into fruition here. But yeah, for me, I'm gonna probably still go OpTic, but
nah, I'm all in. Ghosty Redemption cheese.
Nah. Listen,
it always happens though, doesn't it? It always happens.
No, there is always.
Ghosty's gonna have a blinder receipt.
Here's the thing about when we do these bracket predictions, right? We don't account for the cheese. Like this happened last year a lot. We tried the first couple. We tried to be very straightforward, like pick what we think is the favor, like what should happen. But dude, there's cheese every time. There's the crowd cheese. There's the first match cheese. There's the redemption arc cheese. There's so much cheese that has to be considered.
The anime main character cheese.
Bro, events are basically a cheese board. No bullshit. But unfortunately, I don't think any cheese is helping this LA Thieves squad out.
I don't think so either.
I do stand by though. I think Legion beats OpTic, but if they don't, I have OpTic absolutely beating the LA Thieves.
Okay.
Got you. I think the OpTic are the clear-cut favourite here. I think that obviously this is one of those ones, like you said, we could use all logic as well and just predict who we think is going to win. But I think it's interesting to think of the other variables that come into play, because 100% we've been about here for events for years, and all these things are factors for sure. But I think for this one, it's just going to be a straightforward OpTic W. After getting a win on the board against Legion, they're going to come in with a little bit of momentum, and they're going to just take LA Thieves out back and then progress through to the loser bracket against
What are they going to do to them out back, Mark?
I don't know. They're going to do something back there. They're going to do something.
They're going to take him to the cheese that's back there.
They're going to old Yeller, bro.
Someone's going to think there's a challenge for us today to say cheese as many times as physically possible.
We'll have to put it in our title. The cheesiest bracket of all time.
Cheese.
Yeah, if there's any cheese companies out there that want to get involved in the podcast,
Cheez-Its. Let us know. I could get down on eating some Cheez-Its while we put these brackets together.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. We're talking so much rubbish, but anyway, moving on to the Boston Breach versus the Minnesota ROKKR. Boston. 100%.
Jesus.
We gotta explain ourselves. Boston just looks like the better team. Don't do that.
Listen, guys, I know you're saying Boston straightforward,
don't do that.
but I actually see a world here. Hold on, I want to get a little bit more in depth. Boston 3-0. I don't think this is going to be close. I think this, if we're taking a Lamar less series, I think this is the one. Yeah, I think Boston's gonna, Boston's actually set up to have a good little loser bracket run for them, matchup wise. I know they missed out on having winner bracket spot at their home event, but where they fall in the loser bracket and like how this bracket could shape up, they could have some good little matchups here.
Yeah, they actually, wow, if they beat Surge, like they're playing like the two worst teams in the league, and then like Heretics, which they can. You never know. They could even beat Heretics,
especially considering Heretics has to come off a loss to land here, right? And wow,
Boston's actually set up. Like
the home event cheese. We got more cheese.
The home event cheese. Wait, you know what's crazy? Boston was the last Boston where Boston had their home major in MWIII. They got a top 6 finish. And like everyone thought they were ass, and like Zinnia, that was this event that Zinnia retired, but they were playing pretty good. Like they could have arguably got a top 4 finish if they could have won that match to get them there. But yeah, so they home event cheese. They're gonna beat the ROKKR. Do we do another set of losers bracket before the championship matchup?
Yeah.
We can just go through the losers bracket again. Subliners versus OpTic here. What's your guys' thoughts?
I want to say subliners, but at this point, OpTic might just have a lot of confidence and like they got the reps in that they might just be playing better if they get that losers bracket run. But subliners, in theory, should beat them here. But the problem is they're going to be down out there after that loss to Ultra, and they might end up like just spiraling out and losing because, listen, Dante, great player, but I mean he was notably for a long time a person that would get down on himself and like be very, he wears his heart on his sleeve type of player whenever he's like when it comes to Call of Duty. And I feel like, you know, if they lose that Ultra series or they're down, like they, you know, there's a world where maybe he loses his head a little bit and maybe he starts to play worse.
You don't think he's matured a little bit though?
He definitely has, but like you never know, right? It's still there. It could happen again. I'm still going to say New York. Logically speaking, they should win this series. They just look like a better team. Yes, they matched up online at the beginning of the season, but I think New York has actually progressed as a team while OpTic has kind of stayed the same. Like I don't feel like they've actually improved. I feel like they've been the same team the whole stage.
Yeah, I think for me, I'd probably go New York as well. Although, I don't know, there's just something about that bracket, just looking at it and just seeing OpTic with 2 dubs on the board and coming in against a team that have just lost. There's something about that there that's making me think.
Something.
Yeah, we're the green wall cheese, or is there other cheese involved here?
The loser run cheese.
Why do you have those next to you?
Where did they come from?
Loser bracket run cheese, guys. That's what you're forgetting. I'm going OpTic to upset the New York Subliners.
No way.
That's it.
Well, me and Mark have OpTic, unless Mark's changing his mind.
No, Mark hasn't decided yet. He's still pondering. Look at him.
See, you know, I almost locked in OpTic. And sorry, I almost locked in New York. Sorry.
Yeah. Momentum cheese.
You know what? I'm gonna lock in New York. I'm locking in New York. Sorry, your cheese
fans. Keep in mind. I had you guys in this series. Don't forget that when you're watching this.
Listen.
I had you guys.
You had them lose. You had them getting eliminated by fucking Legion, brother.
Which makes sense. But I said if they don't, I'm predicting an OpTic loser run. I did say that.
Yeah, for sure.
You did say that.
You did say that.
There's a lot of cheese at play here, but I think the subliners are going to be
bracket run cheese.
Bro, it happens. It happened. Think about it. When's the last time we've seen that multiple times?
Yeah, I just think you're hilarious, bro.
No, 100%. I think we should just move on to the next match, though. Heretics versus Breach.
Listen,
what are you guys thinking? I'm thinking I'm jumping back on the train and I'm getting the Breach boys are going through a nice little 2-match win spree. But it's the end for them. They're getting off the train. They're getting off the train, and Miami are getting back
their
on
home
it.
Event.
Yeah, Miami are gonna like have a bit of resolve here. They've just came off a tough loss.
You guys are forgetting something.
FaZe.
You guys are forgetting something.
The weather cheese.
No. Not only is it the home event cheese, but it's my country is the better Latin American country cheese. Snoopy is Mexican. And he's playing against the Spanish. He's going to go out there and show why Mexico is better than Spain.
I could have got on board with the weather cheese, but
this is the Latino cheese.
Is crazy.
This is the Latino cheese.
This one's insane. The country pride is insane.
The country pride cheese. Snoopy's about to come out there and say, "My vamos is stronger, bitch," and win the series, bro.
I wonder if there's... That's what they need to do, actually.
The Spanish-speaking cheese. No way.
the Espanol cheese.
The stat guys out there that are watching this right now, we need some research into weather. these guys?
I think
from
Miami's used to
Spain
that
who live in
nice
Miami?
Florida
Are they-
weather. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's gonna be cold in Boston.
Yeah, who's better under what?
gonna be
Now,
cold.
there's got to be stats on who's better, like under certain weather conditions. Like, are they?
Wait.
Who's better?
I'm an LA player for
Who's
sure.
better
Wait,
at
hold on.
sunny events? Who's better at like cold events?
Hold on. You guys gotta. I just thought of this, and this is important. Outside of the Heretics, there's only one Spanish speaker in the league, and it's Snoopy. What if he's backstage when Heretics are talking about their strats in Spanish? He can understand that and relay it to the squad. Bro, whenever I played against Heretics and they were talking like their strats, I had no idea what they were saying. I don't speak Spanish. Second languages are impossible for me. I've tried it. I've tried it in middle school, high school. I had some in college. Can't do it. But Snoopy knows Spanish.
I'm
That's a
telling
good point,
you,
Pat.
it's the Espanol cheese.
Yeah, but you said it was because he wants to defend his pride. I'm just saying because he'll be able to hear their comms and know their
listen, bro.
strats.
It's all encompassing, bro. It's all
Think
encompassing.
about it this way. Did you guys watch when Heretics had a listen in the other day and they were speaking Spanish? I had no idea what they were
Bro,
saying.
Snoopy probably literally heard that
That's
shit.
what I'm
like,
saying. He knows how they break their small talk.
He's going
Listen.
back and listening to all their listens.
I would back that, Pat, but I don't even think Miami have strats. They just run about as a
That's true.
four-man and they just fly.
That's true.
They just
That's a
fly
good
as a
point.
four-man. So that logic's out the window for me. So I think I'm probably just gonna go with Miami here on this
Who
one.
do you got, Pat?
So
I'm going to go breach. I think
Let's go.
the one thing to consider here is these guys did play and Boston won 3-1. Online, of course, but they have matched up and Boston took it pretty handily. So I'm going to go with a repeat win and go the breach. So you got a tiebreaker here, Chris.
I already said Boston.
You already said it?
Yeah,
oh,
I
so
said
I
Sno-
was the tiebreaker.
I said,
Okay, yeah,
I
took the
said
tiebreaker.
Snoopy Mexican
Yeah,
cheese.
yeah, right. Okay, cool. Wow.
for all the Smash fans out there, I love you guys. Just remember that. Just remember that. These two. Just remember that. Anyway, before we get into the winners finals again, we should probably just go and do the sub-winners versus breach game.
Yeah.
Should we?
Who's
Yeah.
your semis?
I think it's going to be the end of the road for. I mean, I already predicted the end of the road for the Boston Breach, so I'm going to have to double down on that one and go with NYSL for this series. But what do you guys think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
I think so. I actually think too. We can go ahead and move New York here to the losers finals, but I think New York stands the best chance at this event to beat FaZe. I think New York, the matchup against Ultra, I think Ultra will win that one. And I think they'd win it, regardless if they played them in loser finals again, even after playing in winners round 2. But I think if FaZe somehow lose that winter finals, I think New York will have the best to beat them. They're, I think, a better S&D team. And I, in my opinion, on LAN, I think New York could beat FaZe in the respawn. So I like how this is shaping up. I think, the top 3 we have now, too, I think everyone would agree is probably 100% the top 3 in the game currently going into this event.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think our bracket did shape up kind of accurate to reflect where teams are. But, yeah, I think we all have New York here beating Breach. Into the road for the home of it, cheese.
Yeah, I think Breach. I think the Breach is the only outlier in this bracket in terms of like how we view them as an actual team, and it's simply because obviously we have them upsetting Heretics, but like look at their losers run.
Yeah,
like if they
anything
don't run into anyone good potentially outside of Heretics and maybe like one of the top 4 teams late. So yeah, I think we all got subliners moving on here.
So we're going into the winners finals now. We've got FaZe versus Ultra. I'm thinking boys at Toronto, but I want to know what you guys think.
I actually have Ultra upsetting here. I think winners finals, Ultra's just going to be so hot. I think, I'm predicting them to have pretty 2 dominant winner round 1, winner round 2. I think they're just going to come in hot here, and I think they're going to upset FaZe. It's not too big of an upset because this is obviously our top 2 teams in the game. But if one team is going to do it at this current time, I got Ultra hitting the winner bracket finals upset, sitting them down to play the New York Subliners so we can get that good match. But I think it's going to be close. Ultra is just I like FaZe well-rounded across the board, but FaZe has looked weaker in Hardpoint to me. I don't know if you guys can agree with that, but I'm going to go Ultra Game 5 here.
Here's the thing. They do look weaker in Hardpoint against every other team, but every time like Scrappy's asked the question of like who are the best teams, blah blah, like every time he mentions FaZe, he gives them like a lot of respect in terms of like how good they are. And I'm assuming in those practice sessions, FaZe is probably fucking like giving them a good run for their money in most of their practice.
Yeah, but think about the server they're playing on too.
Well, no, but the server's chosen. They try to pick a fair server. Yes, I know Atlanta, blah blah, has such an advantage, but I still think that I'm gonna assume Atlanta plays them really well, if not beats them probably majority of map count, and then Atlanta is a stronger search team on paper. Obviously, this is kind of like looking into like little things and not actually how they looked like in league matches, but just like. I don't know. I think they're good. I think FaZe still wins this, but I do think it's close, and I do think Ultra have the potential to beat FaZe, but I think FaZe should win if both teams are playing at the top of their game.
The way I see it is if it goes game 5, I'm favouring FaZe. So I think that Ultra need to win this 3-1. I think they need to close this out
they gotta win all
early doors
respawns
on map 4. I think they can win an S&D, don't get me wrong, but I think game 5 S&D is like just a little bit different. And I think that I could see FaZe obviously taking the first ARPA. I could see Ultra winning an S&D, blah, blah, blah. But I do think that if it's as clear as day, to me, it's map 4. Ultra need to win it.
Keep in mind, though, especially last year, FaZe had multiple events where they struggled to close out some of these game 5s, right? Like the one on, what was the map last year with the building in the middle? It was like grass on both sides, the big building in the middle. That's where the A bomb was. The B bomb was outside in that little shack, basically. Asilo. Do you remember that like round 11 play where they like totally choked? Like I just feel like I've seen FaZe choke these game 5s in these big moments that they're going to get it out early here at this Boston event. That's why I'm thinking that Ultra will just come out. I think this will go game 5. I think the series will go game 5 regardless. But I see FaZe just having a choke in this winter final. So I'm going to stick with it. I'm going Ultra. Chris, you got FaZe. Mark?
I've still got Ultra. But when we get further into the bracket a little bit more, it's going to get spicy. Yeah. But I've still got Ultra taking this winners finals for sure and dropping FaZe down to losers to play against New York.
All right.
I think you guys had the nail on the head though in terms of like the analysis of it. I think that it's a very close matchup. It could go either way, to be honest.
Keep it going then. Move them up.
Yep. And then the losers finals, we've got FaZe versus Subliners. Chris, what's your thoughts on that one?
New York. I think New York is great. I think they have the potential to be a good team. But if I had to choose this matchup, FaZe is absolutely cooking. Like FaZe is just way more consistent. I don't see as many weaknesses in their gameplay. For Subliners to beat them, Subliners would just have to be they would have to all step up and have just a good weekend of Call of Duty. FaZe just look like a better team, so I'm going to go with FaZe. But I do think, obviously, when we're at this point in the tournament, these matches can go either way. And realistically, at this point, we're just it's almost like flipping a coin.
Yeah. I think FaZe is going to take this as well. But I think if this goes game 5, I think it is literally a coin flip. And I actually can see this going game 5 because I think Subliners are better than FaZe and S&D. And so I think, these teams are going to play each other close. I think FaZe should win this, but I'm more if it doesn't go game 5, I'm confident FaZe will win. If it goes game 5, I don't think Subliners has lost to game 5 yet. They're the reigning world champs. They're coming off an insanely clutch season last year. I could see a world where they take this game 5 and knock FaZe out. I don't think it's going to go game 5, though. I got FaZe winning 3-1 to have the rematch against the Ultra in the finals.
Yeah, same for me. I think that we've said at the start of the show, we've said throughout, FaZe and Ultra are clear-cut the top 2 teams at the minute. So it would be almost just like betting on not a fluke result, but because like we said, these teams are still fairly matched up. But what we've seen from FaZe and what we've seen from New York, FaZe clear-cut victors here in my opinion. So we're going to see a FaZe versus Ultra grand finals.
Thank God.
And
it's going to be a good one. Is the format still a best of 9?
Yeah, I don't think the format's changed from last year.
Damn it.
Yeah.
So it's the veto advantage best of 9, right?
Yep. But there is more S&Ds.
It's true.
Which is a factor as well.
Which is.
I think that this is one of those ones where FaZe come in hot because they've just played a match and they start off the series strong here. They come up and they win the first 2 maps. They're up 2-0. And then it starts to get a little bit close. But then for me, I think FaZe are going to actually edge it in the final. I don't know what the score is going to be, but I just generally think that FaZe are going to come out and
I still
win this
remember
whole
in
tournament.
Modern Warfare 2, there were so many series where I expected like FaZe to like win, but they were like not that good at control. Like they were okay at control, and I remember there was like, well, how many controls were in a best of 7? Was it like 3?
I think it's 2.
It was
it's
2?
3 hard points, 2 controls, and 4 searches, right?
Yes. I'm pretty sure. I've not been
either
in a
way, but it was
close.
just like
it's either that or 3, 3, and 4, right? So it's either it might be that.
Either way, but
controls.
it always came down to like FaZe losing like a control, dude, or like a control or 2 to like one of these like teams, and it was just it was a heartbreak. And I think if this is going to happen to a team, it'll happen to Ultra with S&Ds, because I think their S&D hasn't been that good. They've started to step it up here in the last weekend, but I don't think it's going to be on the level of FaZe's this year, or at least this event. And FaZe should take this. I had them winning in the winners finals. So, I mean, if I had to choose here, I'm going to choose FaZe again.
Solid predictions. I think that we're all kind of agreeing here that FaZe are going to win the whole tournament, right?
Yeah, I think FaZe is just looking too good overall. They're 7-0 in the online qualifier. They haven't missed a beat. I will say, I think, this event will kind of, the gap will close a little bit between these top 3 teams. I know it's already close as is, but I think the advantage FaZe has will get a little bit smaller after this event. And I like the fact that, we have FaZe losing in winter finals, but coming back and taking the whole tournament. I think they're the clear-cut number 1 at the moment, and I think they'll showcase that here in Boston this weekend. So it's going to be a good tournament. I'm excited to finally get some LAN COD. We've had a lot of online matches. But yeah, it's going to be a good 4 days, good weekend, and then we'll be back at it to discuss what happened next week. So
yeah. And before we end off the show, we need to talk to you guys about a few comments we've had below. And also, another point, make sure you guys drop your comments below. Any questions, anything you want to ask us for future episodes, and we'll get to that. The first, I guess it's not really a question, it's more of a statement. Tommy says, can't believe you guys are saying FaZe are top 1. They only played bad teams. The top 4 are all equal. We didn't see them playing versus each other. Well, that was obviously...
No way Zuma's in the comments backing up Atlanta FaZe.
Yeah, I mean, clearly this comment was before the results of this weekend, because FaZe have just came in and absolutely dismantled OpTic. So I think for me, it's one of those ones where, you've been proven wrong. You've been proven wrong, mate.
Yeah. Just the big thing is like, they hadn't played that great of teams up until that point, but it's like when we're comparing FaZe versus comparing some of these bottom teams, like the argument doesn't really work against established best teams in the game, right? It works when we're talking about Miami, who like is unproven and playing bad teams. But FaZe, I mean, obviously it automatically disproved just because of the fact they came in and slammed good teams. They also went 7-0, and they played, majority of the teams in the league either way. So, I think the problem is just it doesn't reflect the type of team they are. They're already a proven, established, dominant team. Yeah.
The next comment we have is from Notting, and this has actually been something that we've discussed tonight as well, and EMPs. And he's mentioned EMPs. He says, knowing players, they will GA EMPs. I
wouldn't put it past them.
It depends on the design of the EMPs. Or like how good are they? Do they go through like, is it a big radius? There's so many variables that come into play. I think
it'd be a mindset shift, right? I think like I know there's the old guard versus the new guard, but like EMPs made COD it had so much more strategy. Like we talk about how COD is played now, and it's way less strategy involved and more like gunny involved, right? So I think it'd be like a mindset shift, the same with what things they've GA'd, but like I feel like there's enough people with some intelligence to understand that like the level of gameplay increases with EMPs in the game.
I think if EMPs like hit markered players through walls, I think people would literally hate them. At least the new gen, because I feel like the new gen values like taking routes and gunfights more than they do like tactical and like tactical and strategy. I think if they brought back EMPs and they just made them used for destroying equipment, like let's say I threw my EMP at a wall and it blew up a trophy, but didn't hit marker a player or like give me info on a player, then no one would probably care and everyone would be fine with using.
But it
them.
hit markered players through walls in BO2.
I know, but we were okay with that, right? But I don't think the new gen of players would be. They'd be like, "Oh my god, it's so cheese! It hit me through a wall and it's free information."
So the problem with EMPs was that back in the day we had the pick 10, right? So like you had the ability to counter an EMP with your perk system.
Yeah, hardwired.
Yes, and players did that. I had multiple hardwired classes, and like you picked how many players were gonna run EMPs, and if they ran a lot of EMPs, they didn't get nades and stuns. And I think that was a big part of that balance.
The problem with the new gen of players is they just hate being vulnerable. Like people,
they want everything to be gunny. They want everything just to be gunny. They don't want to get like killed by like they think nades and stuns and EMPs. That's cheese, like to them. Yeah, I think that's a different argument, but it elevates the gameplay, and I would hope there would be at least enough intelligence in that GA chat to know that EMPs would improve the gameplay. Because I think getting it down as bare bones as they do without stuff like this, it just gets stale. So yeah.
And I agree with you completely. I think the pick 10 system was probably the biggest factor into it. We had a system that allowed, I think if you just threw it into this game without another perk or something along those lines, I don't know if it works. But I completely agree with what you guys are saying. And the final comment we have is from Joey. He says, Haggy speaking facts about the casuals and competitive rank play players make up the whole fan base. Mainly if they lose interest, it's going to die out altogether. People who play the game watch the
fact,
game.
Bro. You need to retain the player base, bro. Because if you always retain the player base, you'll have fans of the game, fans of the teams. You don't do things to retain the player base, they're going to go watch and play other things. And the fact is, like as a person that like I've gotten into things like, for example, I've just recently gone to the gym. Since I'm active in the gym, I watch a lot of random workout videos on YouTube now. Like, right? It's the same thing. If you're a competitive COD player, you're going to watch competitive COD shit. It's going to pique your interest, right? It's going to be something that you love, and you're going to want to like watch it all the time. You'll be sitting there at dinner watching YouTube videos, watching the league, right? Then you'll get off and you'll go play ranked. Like, if you alienate the population by GAing too many things, or not changing the map sets, or like failing to keep the interest of the public, you're not going to have a fan base. Viewership's going to die. Like people need, listen, bro, people are constantly chasing dopamine in life. Like it is what it is. They want new shit. They want cool new stuff to do. They want cool new shit to watch. It's a fact, bro.
That.
I mean, nothing else needs to be said there, really. Yeah, absolutely nailed that, Chris. And I mentioned it before, but again, a little reminder, make sure you guys comment down below any other questions you got, statements, whatever you may want to put down there, just get them in the comment section below. Make sure you guys like the video. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. And make sure you guys also go to prizepicks.com/reverse sweep and use code reverse sweep for a first deposit match of up to $100. Thanks for joining us, guys. Thanks for joining the reverse sweep presented by PrizePicks. And make sure you guys have a fantastic week. Go into the major. Make sure you guys enjoy it and tune in. We'll obviously be live as well with that show post-event. So make sure you guys tune into that.
Let us know who your event winners are and who we got wrong. We'll call it out next weekend when we review how we did.
Yeah, 100%. All right, guys. See y'all later.